How do you start your morning? Albert Fish liked to start... Oh, what? Oh, the box? No. Yeah, that's him, all right. It's just, that's an x-ray of his insides. In addition to eating children, he also enjoyed hammering pins and needles into his abdomen. Just one of the many games he invented. Albert Fish's family had a history of mental illness almost as long as his rap sheet. His uncle was diagnosed with mania. His brother spent time in a state mental institution. His sister was diagnosed with mental affliction. His mother suffered from visual hallucinations. Not to mention, 3 other relatives were diagnosed with various forms of mental illness. After his father died of a heart attack in 1875, Fish's mother put him into an orphanage.
Please, sir.
It was here that Fish discovered that vicious beatings at the hands of the sadistic staff were not only painful, but fun and enjoyable.
Oh, God, that felt good, yeah!
By 1879, Albert's mother got a government job and was stable enough to look after him. It was around this time, at the tender age of 12, that Fish began a homosexual relationship with a telegraph boy.
Extra, read all about it!
Now, just like other curious teenagers in their age bracket, they would experiment with one another. Drinking and eating... Sorry.
It's okay.
That's gross. It's fucking gross. They would experiment with one another. Drinking and eating each other's piss and shit.
Here's a nice piece of shit.
To be young and in love. But sometimes life gets in the way, and Fish found it difficult to hold down a relationship while constantly spending all of his free time at public bathhouses watching young boys undress.
They want us to look. They're hot, I'm telling you, they're hot.
One day, while Fish stood above his partner showering him in piss, he had an epiphany.
I can taste the bubbles.
He would save every penny he earned until he had enough money to move to New York City and become a male sex worker. 10 years later, he landed in the city that never sleeps.
Walking here!
But who has time to sleep anyway? He had children to torture and molest, roughly 400 of them.
Man like that doesn't deserve to live.
Alas, all good things must come to an end. And in 1898, he found himself in an arranged marriage that his mother set up. The two had 6 children together: Albert, Anna, Gertrude, Eugene, John, and Henry Fish. When he wasn't relaxing, being pissed on and whipped in bathhouses, by all accounts, Fish was a family man. He loved playing games, roughhousing with his children. In one such game, he would pretend he was a bucking bronco while his kids would ride him and spank him with a nail-studded paddle until blood ran down his legs. Just good, wholesome, family fun.
You'll be whistling Symphony Doodah out of your assholes.
In 1910, Fish was working in Wilmington, Delaware.
Hi, I'm in Delaware.
When he met 19-year-old Thomas Kedden, a drifter who shared a passion for playing harmless games, and the two began a sadomasochistic relationship.
Spank me.
It's a little unclear whether or not the relationship was entirely consensual. One day, Fish took Kedden to an old farmhouse where they played torture-themed games together for 2 weeks straight. Nothing too serious. Flayed buttocks on one day, a couple packets of needles straight through the penis on another. And some might say that Fish took it a little too far when he got Thomas aroused, set him on fire, and sliced off half his penis with a butcher's knife. But who are we to judge? It doesn't exactly sound like the couple spa retreat at Niagara Falls, but I don't know, whatever floats your boat. He poured peroxide over the hole where Thomas's penis used to be.
Come on, champ, let's get some ice on that.
Bandaged it with a Vaseline-covered handkerchief, left a $10 bill tucked in his pocket, kissed him goodbye, and left.
Farewell, my beloved friend.
No one knows what happened to Thomas after this. For some reason, the guy didn't even file a police report. I guess he lost the game. For reasons that no one could possibly understand, in 1917, Fish's wife ran off with another man.
I'm leaving you.
Oh well, he immediately began writing to women listed in the personal columns of newspapers, describing in graphic detail the sexual acts or games he would like to share with them. But according to Fish, no one ever responded to his letters. He was dumbfounded.
Has the planet gone mad?
After his wife up and left him for who the hell knows why,
Mind-boggling, isn't it?
Fish became obsessed with the idea of atoning for sins through pain. Wait a minute. Since when does punishment include excitement and sexual arousal? Let me get this straight. You're telling me that the guy who just so happens to get off on self-torture and mutilation has to atone for his sins through self-torture and mutilation? I mean, call me old-fashioned, but shouldn't a punishment be, not orgasm-inducing? Anyway, he began to atone for his sins by sticking needles in his taint.
Wait, where?
Atonement felt so good that he stuck some needles in so deep that they couldn't get him out. After his arrest, x-rays revealed that he had at least 29 pins and needles lodged in his pelvic region.
Oh my God! How does that stuff even get up there?
Now, to properly understand Albert Fish, you have to understand the times he was living in. There wasn't much to do in the early 20th century. They didn't have gaming consoles and computers back then. Fish had to make up his own sources of entertainment. He invented this one game. You can play it too. What you want to do is go to the hardware store, purchase some cotton balls, canister lighter fluid, and a pack of matches. Once you're in a safe environment, simply soak the cotton balls in the lighter fluid. Now, this is the tricky part. What you want to do is pack your asshole to the brim with lighter fluid doused cotton balls. Make sure to leave a few strands hanging out because this is going to act as your wick. From here, it's just a matter of striking a match. And if you really want to channel your inner fish, you could try also just repeatedly slamming a dresser drawer on your dick and balls at the same time. Bang, bang, bang. But hey, if that game's too challenging for you, keep in mind Fish created plenty of other exciting games involving whips, paddle, meat cleavers, butcher knives, and rusty hand saws. These make for great game pieces, as you can take them anywhere you go, wrapped in a canvas sheet, just like Fish used to do. Between 1917 and 1934, his crimes increased in severity. Okay, I know what you're thinking. How does a sadistic, child-molesting sadomasochist who's addicted to drinking piss and eating human excrement get worse? Easy. He continued to abduct children, only instead of boring old molestation, he began torturing, murdering, and eating their remains.
Right, a lot worse.
On June 3rd, 1928, Fish answered a classified ad from 18-year-old Edward Budd, who was looking for part-time work to help with the family finances. He introduced himself as Mr. Frank Howard and met with Edward and his family under the ruse that he was a Long Island farmer looking to pay a strong young worker $15 a week. When he was introduced to Edward's sister, Grace Budd, he claimed that he made up his mind to eat her. The investigation into Grace's disappearance went on for 6 years before detectives received a substantial break. On November 11th, 1934, Mrs. Budd received what would go down in the annals of twisted fuckery as the most grotesque confession letter ever written. Look it up and read it for yourself if you want. It's too long and far too disturbing for me to go into here.
Not today.
After tracing the paper the gruesome confession letter was written on, the police eventually tracked Fish to a flophouse where he was living. He was arrested and sent directly to jail, where he immediately confessed to killing Grace and other children. On March 11th, 1935, Fish's trial began. He pleaded innocent by reason of insanity. Remember, he was just playing games. Were his heroes Milton Bradley and the Hasbro brothers also guilty of murder? No. Despite numerous psychiatrists who described Fish as insane, the jury found him sane and guilty after a 10-day trial. He was sentenced to death by electrocution, his favorite game. But don't take my word for it. He was rumored to have said it would be the supreme thrill of my life when referring to death by electrocution. On January 16, 1936, the game was finally up. Albert Fish died from what can only be described as the biggest orgasm in the entire world.
Yes! Oh!
I'll have what she's having.
Legend has it that his execution took longer than average due to the numerous needles inserted into his privates, which disrupted the flow of electricity. The only question that remains is who won? So what do you think? Was Fish caught fair and square? Or did he go out of his way to get caught and get sent to the electric chair because he wore down the spikes on his studded paddle? Let us know in the comments below. And, of course, don't forget to murder that subscribe button and click that notification bell, because we have new content dropping all the time. And, of course, if you can't get enough, you can also follow us over on Instagram and TikTok for even more killer content.